It's 9:04 in the morning, December 6th, 1917. You're standing at your window, watching a ship burn in the harbor below. It's actually kind of beautiful. Flames licking up the rigging, black smoke curling into a clear winter sky. Half the city has come out to watch. Kids are pressed against schoolroom windows for a better view. Nobody knows that ship is carrying enough explosives to level a city. In the next 15 seconds, this entire harbor and everyone watching it will be gone. This is the story of the biggest man-made explosion in human history before the atomic bomb. And almost nobody outside Canada has ever heard of it. Halifax, Nova Scotia, 1917. Population around 50,000. 3 years into World War I, this city has become one of the most important ports on Earth. Every week, convoys of ships gather here before crossing the Atlantic, loaded with troops, horses, ammunition, food, everything the war machine needs to keep fighting. The harbor is one of the deepest, best natural ports in the world. On a normal day, you'll see dozens of ships anchored here: gray warships, merchant vessels, hospital ships, bringing the wounded home. The city itself climbs a hill above the water. Wooden houses packed tightly together, a detail that means absolutely nothing to anyone right now, and will mean everything in about 8 hours. At the northern end of the harbor sits a working-class neighborhood called Richmond. Dock workers, railway employees, and their families, living close enough to the water that they can watch the ships from their kitchen windows. This is a city entirely built around one thing: keeping the harbor moving. Nobody questions that. Nobody has any reason to. Life here runs on wartime rhythm. Men who haven't shipped out work the docks, the rail yards, the shipping offices. Women take factory jobs that didn't exist for them 3 years earlier, sewing uniforms, packing ammunition, working the telegraph lines that keep the whole port coordinated. Houses are small, wooden, heated by coal stoves, packed close along narrow streets that climb straight up from the harbor. Families are large. Money is tight. But there's purpose here. Everyone in this city, one way or another, is part of the war effort. Schools sit close to the water because that's simply where the neighborhoods are. Hundreds of children spend their mornings in classrooms with big windows facing directly out over the harbor, perfect for watching the ships come and go. Soldiers pass through constantly, some heading to the front, some coming home changed. Hospital ships dock regularly, and the wounded are carried through these same streets. It's a hard life, but it's a normal one. Nobody here is thinking about danger from the harbor itself. The danger, as far as anyone believes, is somewhere across the ocean. Nobody walking these streets on the morning of December 6th has any reason to look twice at one particular French cargo ship easing its way into the harbor. They should have. That ship is called the Mont Blanc. It arrived from New York, and it is, without exaggeration, one of the most dangerous vessels afloat. Packed into its hold, over 2,000 tons of picric acid, TNT, and gun cotton. High explosives, bound for the war in Europe. On deck, drums of highly flammable benzol fuel are lashed down in the open air. There are no red flags on this ship, no warning markings visible from shore. In wartime, revealing a munitions ship's cargo is considered a security risk, so to anyone watching from the docks, the Mont Blanc looks like just another merchant vessel easing through the narrow strait called the Narrows, the tight channel connecting the outer harbor to the inner basin. Coming the other way, outbound, is a Norwegian ship called the Imo, running late, moving faster than it should through a channel this tight, and on the wrong side of it. Two ships, one narrow strip of water, a series of small, almost forgettable decisions, a signal misread, a course not corrected in time, a captain hesitating half a second too long. At 8:45 a.m., the Imo's bow slices into the side of the Mont Blanc. No one is hurt. But the collision knocks over benzol drums on the Mont Blanc's deck. Sparks from the grinding metal ignite the spilled fuel. Within minutes, the Mont Blanc is on fire, and everyone on board knows exactly what that means. The crew doesn't even try to fight it. They abandon ship immediately, rowing desperately for shore, screaming warnings that almost no one on land understands. The burning, unmanned ship drifts slowly, almost gently, toward the Richmond docks. And the city comes out to watch. For nearly 20 minutes, Halifax has no idea it's staring down the barrel of a gun. People crowd the shoreline. Office workers step outside for a better look. In Richmond schools, teachers let children crowd the windows facing the harbor. It's the most exciting thing anyone's seen in months. A dockside worker named Vince Coleman, a railway dispatcher, realizes what's actually on that ship and sends a frantic telegraph warning to stop incoming trains. A message that will later be credited with saving hundreds of lives on approaching rail cars. He stays at his post to send it. He does not survive. At 9:04:35 a.m., the fire reaches the Mont Blanc's cargo. The ship detonates with a force of roughly 3 kilotons of TNT at the time, and for nearly 30 years afterward, the largest man-made explosion in human history. The blast is instantaneous and total. A fireball rockets more than a mile into the sky. The shockwave levels every building within half a mile, flattening Richmond, the neighborhood that had gathered at its windows to watch, in a fraction of a second. Windows shatter across the entire city, and beyond it, the sound and shockwave are felt over 60 miles away. Hundreds of children, pressed against classroom windows to watch the fire, are blinded instantly by flying glass. Debris rains down for minutes afterward. A chunk of the Mont Blanc's anchor, weighing over half a ton, is later found more than 2 miles from the blast site. Fires break out across the wreckage of the city almost immediately, feeding on the wooden homes that had stood so close together. In less than 30 seconds, roughly 2,000 people are dead. 9,000 more are injured. An entire section of a city has, quite literally, ceased to exist. What follows is almost as cruel as the explosion itself. Halifax has just lost a huge share of its hospitals, its emergency responders, its infrastructure, at the exact moment it needs them most. Survivors, many blinded or badly burned, wander through the ruins of their own neighborhood, unable to find family members, unable to find shelter. And then, less than 24 hours later, one of the worst blizzards in the region's history buries the wreckage under more than a foot of snow, burying survivors trapped in the rubble, and grinding rescue efforts to a crawl in freezing near zero visibility. Help comes from an unexpected place. Boston, hundreds of miles south, mobilizes almost immediately. Trains loaded with doctors, nurses, and medical supplies push north through the storm to reach the city. It's one of the fastest large-scale disaster relief efforts of its era. and it forges a bond between the two cities that still exists today. Every December, Halifax sends Boston a massive Christmas tree as a continuing thank you, a tradition now running for over a century. The explosion permanently changes how the world handles dangerous cargo. Investigations into exactly how two ships collided in a controlled harbor lead to sweeping reforms in maritime safety, munitions shipping protocols, and harbor traffic control. Rules that are still, in modified form, part of how ports operate globally today. And Vince Coleman, the dispatcher who stayed at his telegraph key instead of running, became one of the enduring symbols of the disaster. An ordinary man who chose, in his final minutes, to try to save strangers he would never meet. Today, Halifax has been entirely rebuilt. Richmond exists again, on the same ground where it was erased in a fraction of a second. A memorial bell tower stands over the neighborhood now, its bells calibrated to the exact pitch of the harbor's ships. Most people who visit this city today have no idea what happened on this ground. But for 15 seconds, on an ordinary December morning, this was the loudest, most destructive place on the entire planet. Not because of an act of war, not because of nature, but because of a chain of small human decisions that nobody thought mattered until it was far too late.